future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Welcome to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo, Dr. Shirley and medium Kellee White.
Two perspectives, one world.
This is Both Sides Now.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shirley. Welcome to Both Sides Now.
I'm medium Kellee White.
We have John, our engineer, here tonight.
Hello.
And I know that we announced that we were going to do a Father's Day show today, and we're still going to do it. We're going to tape a show after this show. So if you want to call in, Kellee will be doing readings for it. We'll give you the number in just a moment. But we thought with the tragedy that happened this morning, we wanted to talk about that instead. So we're going to be talking about the dark side of
humanity.
of
The
humanity.
lowest form of humanity.
And we're not going to be here live next Sunday. So as I said, we are going to pre-tape a show after this one. So if you want to try and connect with a father who has passed on, then please call at 415. And what's the number, John?
It's 323-284-7826.
And we will be doing, Kellee will be doing readings, and we will, that show will air next Sunday. Okay. So, tough this morning,
Such
huh?
a tough thing to turn on the news to see.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm heartbroken. I fell to my knees. I'm so shook up
I know
over
you
this.
called me and you were crying.
Oh, really hard.
You did say.
I love the LGBT community.
Oh, me too.
You know.
Me too.
Love it. I'm heartbroken.
I am too. I just, it's so hard for me. It's almost like I just want to go on a mountaintop and scream because I don't understand it. My left brain, it doesn't compute. I don't understand why, other than, not for me.
Yeah.
Other than that, what is it that makes people want to hurt someone that thinks so differently from you?
Yeah.
And not even so differently in one area.
What do you think it has to do with trauma? Do you think it has to do with programming and the combination of the two?
Well, it certainly has to do with what you've heard when you were little.
Mm-hmm.
We're so influenced as little kids, and so whatever you teach your children or what they hear is, kind of sets a seed or an implant. I mean, I remember with Sydney when she was little, we used to play the game of life, and it's where, I first was appalled because I didn't realize you had to get married in that game.
Yeah.
You cannot not get married. And so then I would sometimes marry, I'd be a pink peg, which signified the girl, and I'd marry a pink peg, or I'd be a blue peg, and she'd go, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I said, sometimes girls marry girls and boys marry boys, or girls marry boys, and nobody cares. And so she, from very early on, she got used to it. And one time I was playing with her little friend, and I did that, and the girl goes, "Look at your mom." And she goes, "Oh, yeah, my mom's gay sometimes." I mean, it was just so, and it was the most normal thing on earth.
Course.
And I got a sense of how we don't even realize what we're programmed to believe, because we were in the car with one of my very good friends who's gay, and she asked him, she goes, "Hey," I'll say a different name just so, in case he doesn't want to be identified, but let's pretend his name was Tim. She goes, "Hey, Tim, can I ask you a question?" And he goes, "Yeah, honey." And she goes, "When you get married, who's going to be the bride?" So, and she must have been about 6. So already at 6, in her mind, because of what she had seen, I'm sure on TV and in books and stuff, there was a bride and there was a groom. So she was confused and curious as to who was going to be the bride. So we're programmed. We don't realize at a young age how programmed we really are with what we see on TV, on billboards, magazines.
Do you think that hate is programmed in? Where does hate come from?
There was a very, very famous psychologist up at Stanford. His name was Philip Zimbardo. And he did a really well-known, at least for people in my field, the prison experiments. And you can look it up if you want to. And he wrote a book, and he studied that, and he wrote a book, and he said, the line between love and hate lies in everybody's heart. We all have the potential for that. It's the fight or flight instinct. If someone is coming towards me and I feel threatened, my brain automatically goes into fight or flight. So if I go into fight, I'm going to to save myself, I have the potential to kill somebody. We all have that. It's an instinct.
And then how do you explain it's such a depth that this that this went?
Well,
I mean, I understand what you're saying, and then it goes so deep. I mean, this kind of hatred.
Because if we feel threatened by this community, which a lot of people do, and I'm not sure why, it's this whole transgender bathroom thing. Well, I want to protect my child.
Yeah.
Well, why would a transgender do anything to your child if they go into? So it's this
It's
ignorance.
ignorance.
It's ignorance, but it's this association I think that's been made that we need to fear them, that they're threatening. That someone who is gay or lesbian or transgender becomes a threatening person, and so that automatically, kind of triggers the primitive brain. If we didn't associate a different lifestyle with it being threatening, I think it'd be different.
Well, even the father, from what I understand, when he was interviewed, this is the father of the shooter, had said that the son was outraged by seeing two men kiss. So this was premeditated.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah. So from what I read, this is the reports, and today is, just for people listening via podcast, it's June 12th. It's Gay Pride Day here in LA and across the U.S. And so that's what I read. And, and I started to meditate on why would something like this happen. And Kel, we've talked many, many times about soul choices, blueprints, similar to like a 9/11, it's really hard for a lot of people to understand that souls play a role in a horrific and tragedy in order to bring people closer together. And my feeling on this, when I started to meditate and just say, well, what can we do to help? What was the meaning of this? It's always hard to talk about this because a lot of people don't understand maybe the way that the incarnations work, souls, the blueprints that we have.
Right.
And maybe Kel can help us understand that better. But I heard we need to heal trauma. That's what I heard so clearly. We need to heal the trauma because the trauma is the vicious cycle. Trauma is what gets people into this place in the first place, and it's what leads us with more trauma.
Well, you're absolutely right, because when we have early onset of trauma, we're kind of stuck in this fight or flight mode. So anyone that we believe is threatening, we're going to have that impulse, Now, what causes someone to go from that to, I'm going to go to let's actually, for people who listen later, let's talk about, explain a little bit what we're talking about. Why don't you tell us, Kellee?
About the soul's choice?
Yeah.
Well,
How
no.
did this
I mean,
happen,
the what we're actually talking about is the mass shooting,
Oh, yeah.
which is the biggest mass shooting in
Right,
the
at Pulse
United
nightclub
States.
in Orlando, Florida. It was
It was a Latin night.
it was called a hate crime, but also now they're saying it was motivated by ISIS. So I think that's hate all in itself.
That's hate too.
So
yeah.
regardless
so it
being
was,
LGBT hate, it is ISIS hate as
right.
well.
So
Yeah.
what was targeted was a gay Latin nightclub,
Right.
and so he
Where-
went in and he
killed 50 people.
yeah.
50 souls.
So please go on and tell us what.
About, you mean my thought spiritually? Is that
Well, yeah, spiritually, and I mean, you've been saying in the last weeks, ever since all the planets were in retrograde, you've been saying it's a tough,
this
tough time.
June is rough. I was just on James' show the other day, James Van Prague's show, and we were talking about the month of June. And Neptune goes retrograde tomorrow, but you already felt the effects. It brings you back to a time that erupts. It can be eruptive, which is really what this is right now. No, so Neptune is emotions. So this is going to bring up every emotion. I mean, it's really done a number on me, clearly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just brought up it's going to bring up a fear. It's going to bring up fear. So Neptune can be love and it can be fear. And that's really what it's done. It is brought up. It's going to bring up everybody's trauma, everybody's fear again. Now, why is that? To breathe, to clear it out yet again, which is really what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It brings up all the fear. I mean, why? And then I go to a place of why would souls want to incarnate? Why would souls take that? I mean, they're heroes to me, the ones
Right.
that died. I mean, because they're
Yeah.
going to shed so much light into
This
They're
was-
sacrificing
situation. They
themselves to
sacrifice
wake us up.
themselves.
and that's hard for people
Absolutely.
to swallow, especially right
Yes.
now,
Yeah.
because everybody's
Especially
going
right
through the
now.
grieving process, so they
Absolutely.
don't necessarily get that, and
No.
maybe it's not
Yeah.
for them to get right now. But
Right.
Yeah.
one thing that is true is that this was considered to be the largest massacre in U.S. history, and what will forever be attributed to these souls that sacrifice their lives in the spiritual realm for us is that this was LGBT hate crime that will forever be, what do they say, immoralized?
Immoralized, right.
Yeah, in U.S. history.
Yeah.
It's just so tragic that we feel, the arrogance and the right to take somebody's life who believes something different than what I believe. That we don't have, that we believe that people who don't think the same way I do don't have a right to exist in the world.
This dimension is full of people that are very high-spirited, that are very, advanced souls, and then these real low souls. It's like a low form of humanity.
Yeah.
And we're all here together.
Yeah.
So we've got some people that really bring in a tremendous amount of light, and some people that just fear that light so much
Right.
they have to take them out.
Right. And it's interesting to me. Well, that fear causes us to feel threatened, like my life is in danger. And it's interesting what you say about Neptune, because I think there are two energies in the world: it's love
and fear. Yes. And this Neptune retrograde, again, that's really what this is about. It will bring us back to a place to really recognize in ourselves: are we leading our lives with love, or are we leading it with fear?
Yeah.
Because this is the kind of these are the kind of things that probably will, sad to say, will probably continue.
And that's the spectrum: fear and love.
And
Exactly.
Yes.
We either come
anything
from
in
fear.
between. Yeah.
I mean, and please, everybody, don't let this shake your faith. Have the faith and the hope that life goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And know also that if you're having some, feelings about it, notice what it is. A lot of people, I got a lot of texts from some of my patients that they were feeling scared.
Yes.
And it's important to notice what you're feeling and, keep yourself grounded and reach out to your support system. Don't isolate with that feeling, but it's also not uncommon at all to have those feelings come up.
And usually during these traumatic events, they will have therapists waiting to take your calls.
Yeah.
In Orlando for sure, but
Yeah.
I would think other places too.
Yeah, and we invite you to call
Yes.
in today. And if there's anything that, even if it's a comment that you want to make, because this is, it affects all of us. It doesn't just affect the LGBT community, and it's just so tragic.
Yeah, it really is. And a lot of people are bringing up some of the comments, from the religious right and the scriptures and what leads to the ignorance of the hate being pushed forward is because of the misinterpretation of the scriptures that lead to just so much, I would say, hate mongering.
Well, fear leads to hate, because if we're fearful, if we're not, if we don't understand something, many times we become fearful of it, and that fear then transitions into hate.
Yes. And again, we come to this dimension, hopefully, to continue to gain more light and to have faith and to have hope and to continue to grow as a spirit, to grow, our souls to grow.
Yeah.
So help somebody through this. If you know somebody that is devastated by this, help them, talk to them. It will help you as well.
Yeah. And there's not, if you're not sure what to say, you can simply say that, or just
listen.
Be there,
just
hold
be
the
there,
space,
hold them.
and validate what they're feeling. It's
Well, people that are HSP like me, like you, John.
Yeah.
I mean, did you? I feel it just achingly so. I'm assuming you do too.
I do, and the only thing that I can do to sort of take myself out of it is sort of connect to why, or
so that's connecting to your left brain a little bit.
Yeah. But, I guess, and also look at what we've talked about the blueprints.
Yes.
Of these
Oh,
souls.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
we kind of touched on that a little bit. And it's so hard during a time like this.
Exactly.
But it does help you a little bit.
Okay.
For at least me, to see the bigger picture.
Right. And that's the first thing, of course, that went through my mind. And I thought, is that something I really want to talk about now? Because the crisis is now.
It's right now.
It is
It's
absolutely
the
right
and,
this moment.
And we're not at any means discounting the grieving process by bringing this up. It's just, I see such a heroic
Me too. they're heroes.
Yeah.
They're absolutely
event.
heroes that have gone through this. And it's really to shed light into hate, into fear, into the LGBT community, into the Latin community, into all of this.
Especially during a weekend that's all about celebrating gay pride, LGBT pride, I should say.
Which is always the most incredible time.
Yeah.
And it should be, whether you understand it or not, or are okay with it or not, it's celebrating that a group of people don't have to be oppressed.
That's exactly it.
Exactly, Shirley, that's so true.
I mean, so that's what we're celebrating, is that.
That's what I posted on my Facebook. Gay pride was not born of a need to celebrate being gay, but our right to exist without persecution. So instead of wondering why there isn't a straight pride movement, be thankful you don't need one.
Wow.
Now, that wasn't my words. Those weren't my words. That's just a meme that I have passed on, but I made that my profile picture. I'm not going to take credit for those words.
But you should put that on our both sides now.
Yeah.
I love that.
Please do that, because it's true.
Yeah.
It's celebrating, it's celebrating that people have rights, that everyone can have rights, for the longest time women couldn't have rights,
Right.
And what gets me, the irony of it all is that, the people who came, over from England is because they wanted religious rights that they weren't getting
religious
in
freedom.
England.
Yeah.
Religious freedom, right. That they weren't getting in England, which is why they hopped on a boat not knowing whether they were going to make it or not.
Do you know my family, my ancestors were on the Mayflower?
Were they daughters of the Republic?
Yeah, sadly, but they made it here, yes.
But so that
James
need,
drove his rap for
that need for freedom,
Right.
got people to jump on a boat, not knowing if they were going to survive it or not, to be able to freely express, and of course I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but the irony of it is then they made the Indians, the Native Americans, pardon me,
about this culture?
Not practice their own religious, beliefs and made them into, so the hypocrisy is just all around. But my point is that, they came here for that. Right. And now somehow we have the right to say, okay, what I believe is okay, but what you believe isn't, and I might even kill you about it. Wow. It's just...
Wow. What a world.
Yeah, I was trying to bring up a website that actually was showing tangible ways that people can help in this time. One of the interesting ways that, believe it or not, men who have sex with men are considered to be high risk in terms of, and they're not able to donate blood. And one of the ways that you can help is by donating blood. So a lot of these folks who,
I saw the lines. Yeah.
And
great.
I'm hoping that they reverse this, because there's by now technology that can detect if your blood is suitable for donation. I mean, we're cleared for donation. It's just.
I think another way that we can help is just to really put out there, even in our own minds. You've taught me so much about energy and
send light. Send
light.
angels, send light, and pray for these families that are going to be going through this, and the ones that don't even know yet if they've lost somebody.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Positivity is going to win over negativity. It's just going to. I mean, I think that we're going through a difficult time, like you've been talking about. I mean, every show you've been talking about it ever since.
This comes down to the fear and love, and that is a Neptune retrograde.
Wow.
And we still have Saturn. So Saturn retrograde, that brings a lot of work for this. So this month is tough.
Yeah.
Very tough.
And I have to say, and I know I might get some hate mail, so bring it on. It's okay. Regardless of, political belief, I do believe that what Trump has been saying has made it easier for people to express, their hate and their dislike of certain things. Yeah, there was a wonderful article that you would run into, Kellee.
Let's talk about that article.
Deepak Chopra wrote an article about. Can you put it up there?
I'll
if you
try
can find
to.
it.
Yeah.
About, I actually think I posted it on my Facebook.
Okay.
About why Trump has risen so quickly.
Bring it up here.
And he's saying he represents our shadow.
Yes.
You know.
Why don't you explain what the shadow is?
Shadow is Carl Jung was a predecessor of Freud. He was a very well-known psychologist. Yeah. And he came up with this idea of the shadow, which is really the dark side
That
of our
everybody
personality.
has. Everybody has a shadow.
We all have it, you know, but it's the dark side, and it's made up of our unchosen choices, which is so interesting. So if I choose to be kind, I'm unchoosing to be mean. You know, so it's the flip side of everything. Right. And I do think that's okay. I mean, I think it's important to acknowledge and tune in when there's a thought that may be a negative thought or even a racist thought or a feeling, feeling hate, you know, but we don't have to act out on it. That's the difference. And if we repress it, then we're bound to act out on it without even realizing it, you know, because we all have that shadow side. You know, there's an article here that talks about the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is a symbolic story of a man and his shadow.
Oh, yes.
You know, one person, I never remember.
Purina Pro Plan Shredded.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
One was the good person that lived, you know, that cared about people and that lived, you know, followed the laws and followed the rules. And the other one was someone that was just kind of, I'm going to do whatever I want, you know. And that was the first thing that so many people started saying about what they loved about Trump, that he just spoke his mind. But I didn't like his mind. I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to hear that it's okay to hate people. I didn't want to hear that it's okay to stereotype people.
And to divide.
Well, he's dividing.
Yeah.
And
divisive.
he's almost kind of giving permission for people's shadow to come up and react to it.
Yeah, well, he's all shadow. I mean, it's right there. He is shadow.
Say a little bit more about that.
Well, I mean...
Well, he's taking credit at this point for being right about the Islam. He's saying that he was right about terrorism after Orlando mass shooting. That's what all these outlets are reporting right now.
This was a kid who, was he born here? When did he come here, this kid who, what do we know about the kid who did it? Okay, so this was an American.
Right.
So it's, what he's saying about banning all Muslims, I mean, it's just so... And I think that he's giving a voice, which is what Deepak Chopra said, which I thought was brilliant. He's giving a voice to everyone's shadow and making it okay to act out on it.
Right.
And it's not okay.
No.
Like I said, we both have, you know, the line between what Zimbardo said, the line between love and hate lies in everybody's heart. We all have the capacity for that. But it's not okay to do. Right. It's not okay for me to kill you because I don't agree with... because you don't believe what I believe. That's not okay. I can choose not to associate with you, but it's not okay for me to kill you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the shadow piece. And we repress it, as we should. We could acknowledge that it's there. I could be really angry with you because we disagree about something, but I choose not to, you know, badmouth you. I choose not to curse you out. I choose not to kill you. I choose not, you know.
Well, because you have an awareness. I mean, really, when the shadow comes out, it's really a time that you can bring light to it.
Yeah.
So your shadow, you know, lessens a bit. I mean, we all have a shadow. So, you know, a shadow could be you're having a great day and you're driving and all of a sudden somebody cuts you off and you just rage.
Right.
You know, the shadow comes out.
Right.
You know, or your friend has a boyfriend or a girlfriend you don't like and that shadow just goes out to attack.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's there.
I want to make it clear that it's not the rage. It's not the emotion of rage, which falls under anger. It's how we react to it. It's reacting to it. This boy, you know, the killer didn't have to like the lesbian, you know, the gay lifestyle because he wasn't gay. That's okay. But he didn't have to go out. It's his behavior that's the shadow side. It's not necessarily that he didn't agree with the gay and lesbian
and spiritually,
lifestyle.
I have to look at this and say he was just a soulless person. I just have to go there. I do. I just do. What's your thought on that, John? I mean, I really think that there's this one had
when you
no
have
soul.
someone on national TV saying it's okay to hate the people that you don't like, and it's okay to tell them that. You know, he eggs people. Trump eggs people on in his rallies. Hit that person. You know, get him out of here. I'm going to kick everybody's ass. He eggs people on. He's giving people that okay, and I'm not saying that that's why this kid did it. But when you have someone on TV saying it's okay to act out what what you hate, what you disagree with,
well, no
more
matter
people are doing it.
No matter how you slice it, it is a hate crime because regardless if it was ISIS or ISIL or LGBT hate, it's hate.
Right, it's just hate.
It's just hate.
Well, it's not a coincidence that he targeted a Latino gay nightclub. He could have targeted any nightclub. 9/11 was, that wasn't a specific type of people. It just, so, it's just.
I mean, it's the psychopathic behavior.
And you heard that there was a second man arrested too, right?
No, I did not hear that.
Yeah, a second man was arrested near L.A.
Oh, yes, in Santa Monica.
Yes.
Well, we have.
But was that connected, I wonder?
Well, they're trying to put everything together, but there's reports that say that it was connected, and there's other reports that say that it wasn't connected. So we don't know what to believe at
What's
this point.
connected is feeling okay to do it. Yeah. That's the piece that's connected, and that's the piece that makes me so angry. That someone is out there saying it's okay to act out on our thoughts and our beliefs.
Right.
That's the part. And there was, we're celebrating Gay Pride this weekend. It's huge here on Santa Monica Boulevard, and someone was found carrying guns and explosives on his way to the Gay Pride Parade. That was...
See, to me, though, that all goes back to, what is a psychopath? And I have to say, to me, that is when the soul does not connect in. Spiritually, the soul doesn't connect in. So then shadow, no shadow, they just go right in and do what they're going to do.
Yeah. Well, that's the difference between people who we all hear, people saying it's okay to go and shoot someone you don't like, but most of us don't do it. Most of us think, I don't care if he's saying it's okay for me to do it, I'm still not going to do it.
Right. Right.
So, but what you're saying is that these people,
so they don't connect.
Talk a little bit more about that. What do you mean by they don't connect, or they're...
So, before we incarnate, so the mother is pregnant, she's going to have a baby, and the soul just actually doesn't go into the system, doesn't go in to the body, just doesn't connect. And so therefore the person is, they have those vacant eyes. I mean, you've described those eyes.
The sociopaths have a reptilian gaze is what they call it. So there's nothing
I don't think that there's
the
a
eyes.
soul in there. I mean, that's where I think the term soulless comes from.
So they're like human robots almost.
Yeah.
But is that then a plan that was made on the other side for me not to connect so I can come down here and do these horrendous things? And
possibly. Don't know. That's such a good question. Remorse. Without remorse, I don't know.
Well, that's the one of the key characteristics of a sociopath is that they don't have remorse.
Which would explain the soul connection not being connected, because that's the soul that is the feeling part of us, right? So that's so if they have no remorse, then that makes a lot of sense. Actually, what Kelly's saying.
Right.
And then
the vacant eyes.
Right. And it's
because the soul's the eyes. Soul is the window to this
window to the soul.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. It's pretty fascinating. I mean, you can see, you can tell.
Yeah.
If you've ever looked, and I don't know him, I'm not diagnosing him, but whenever I see Dick Cheney on the TV, the first time I saw him, and I looked, I'm watching him, so I'm watching his eyes. I really got the creeps, and I go, I wonder why, and I didn't know about, And then I realized he has that reptilian gaze. There's nothing behind. So if you look at him, you'll notice that. He's someone in the public eye, not because he's Dick Cheney, but someone in the public eye that does have that reptilian gaze that you can, look at and notice. It's like
it'll be interesting to see the shooter if they ever show a picture of him.
Well, they did.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, he's very kind of smug look on his face. He had taken a selfie. I don't know if it was before. But it was on there.
Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, that's it right there, the first top. Oh, that's another one.
Yeah.
All right.
So
this one you're saying too?
That one, yeah. That's the one I saw.
Tell on that. Yeah. I don't know.
So it's we welcome if anyone wants to call in. What's the number again?
323-284-7826.
I mean, I can imagine this week will be a very tough week for people.
Yeah.
And I think that, people should be definitely reaching out for help if they need it.
Don't isolate.
And whatever. This may have, Neptune Retrograde affects dreams too. So some people might have nightmares.
Yeah.
This does bring up that element for people because you don't feel safe.
Oh, it brings up this kind of pervasive unsafe feeling.
Yeah.
And so if, whatever shows up, whatever thoughts you might be having, whatever emotions you might be having, notice them. They're already there. So repressing them or denying them doesn't help. And again, stay grounded. Notice your feet on the floor, and reach out to your support system. That's a very important thing to do. I had a few of my patients text me this morning.
Did you? Yeah,
saying
I did
that they wanted to talk, and so we spoke for a few minutes. It really hit a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, the energy right now is a really fragile energy. I had somebody that was coming to see me yesterday actually hit a bicycle rider on the way to see me. So this energy is, the person was okay and they were okay, but it really shook up. There's something really, this energy is just shaky energy. Yeah. It's hard to get grounded. So what I did immediately with her is I gave her a crystal to, hold the crystal, let's get you grounded. But, it's hold something in your hand, visualize your feet on the floor, get your feet on the floor, breathe.
Right. And is there any particular kind of crystal that helps?
This one was a green calcite that I gave her because that removes negativity and it just kind of keeps you in a safe place. I love that green calcite, but really just a quartz crystal would
Any
be
kind
terrific.
of crystal.
Yeah.
Okay.
That helps.
Yeah.
That would help.
It's not so. So say a little bit more about what we can expect, and when does all this end? When does all these planets and energy and all that stuff? I know you said, I think last week at the end of August.
End of September. End of September. Yeah, it goes
keep
to the
extending
end.
It a
Sorry,
month.
it really does go through about the end of September and really till 2017. But the end of September about. That we have so many retrogrades because then soon we'll have Uranus retrograde, and that's going to bring up all kinds of explosive activity. I mean, we've even had earthquakes here in Los Angeles. We had one the other night. We had one, I think, last night too.
Did we?
I think so. I didn't feel it, but I read about it. I get so used to them at this point in my life, I almost don't notice them.
Now, does every planet, when it goes retrograde and then it goes back to stationary, does it have a shadow period, every one of them?
Yeah,
because I know Mercury does. So that's why it keeps getting extended, Shirley, because it's still in the shadow period.
The shadow period, yeah.
Oh.
Then it.
What does the shadow period mean?
Well, it's
not out of the thick of it yet.
Yeah, we're not out of it yet. You're absolutely right. That's exactly what it means.
Effects can still be felt, especially from HSP.
Oh yes, yes. Yeah. But that's really that's what today was about, because it actually doesn't go retrograde till tomorrow, but the shadow is right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you start feeling before and after.
Yeah.
And so the shadow, is it similar to the kind of metaphoric shadow that we were talking about?
Yes, as a matter of
fact. Like a looming kind of feeling. Yeah.
A looming kind of feeling.
Yeah. It's looming.
Yeah. And so you're saying that I was going to regress into like a teenage boy. So you say that Uranus is explosive?
I know. Yeah. Very funny. I know. That's very funny. People love that. Yes. Well, and I can't remember when that goes retrograde, but that goes retrograde.
That's what people say, Uranus instead of Uranus.
Oh, Uranus. Yeah. So explosive in what way? I mean, what does that mean?
Triggers, right?
Triggers. Yeah. Also, Uranus is things that are out, like new age things.
Okay.
So could also be new ideas. Could be new ideas that come out, which is in a good way. But it also could bring up. I have a feeling all of this energy is going to be just intense to bring in light. So there are going to be probably more activities like this, I would think.
Oh,
it brings with expanded consciousness, right?
Yes, but all of this is for an expanded consciousness. But that is what Uranus does. Yeah, it expands your consciousness, and this will expand your consciousness.
Well, that's
with what just happened.
That's just it. I mean, I almost hate to admit this, but these things kind of really bring into the forefront that there is a lot of hate out there, and that we can't not
can't pretend
we
it doesn't
can't stop
exist.
talking about it because it does exist.
It does exist.
Yeah.
I hear about it from my clients all the time. Different types of hate that's out there all the time.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I looked up Uranus, and it says it's the planet of rebellion.
Oh, that's a good word to use. Yeah.
That is
so that would be more of what this energy is going to bring in. I would say to everybody, just put out pray, stay in a constant form of of prayer.
Yeah.
But
Raising your vibration.
Raising your
right?
vibration.
Yeah.
You know,
Be more loving to others.
Loving to others.
Yeah.
You know, acknowledge people. Bring out the best in yourself.
And I would challenge people who have, hate for certain, whether it's certain races, a certain group of people, to sit back, take a moment and be curious as to what is the hate about? Because anything that feels more than, again, just not my thing, it's triggering something within you, that isn't fully resolved. Maybe childhood experience, maybe, but it's something. Many times if we have parents who, talk badly about a certain group of people, the way that we feel, the way that we preserve that attachment connection with that parent is by, feeling the same way. And if we shift the way that we, that we think, or if we choose not to think that way, at an unconscious level, it feels like you're breaking that attachment connection. And there's something so powerful about the connection with our parents, so powerful. So that's so I would invite people to do that. I do it myself whenever I realize I'm having an overreaction. And by overreaction, I don't mean that it's not, you're too sensitive. I don't mean that way. I mean, when I know that my reaction is a little bit more than what the situation calls for, I do. I take some time, sit back, I slow it down, I say, what is this triggering in me? Because it is.
Yeah, you're very good about that. Yeah.
I try to be. Once I learned it, I thought, wow, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Because it is triggering something.
Right.
And many times it's triggering something that you really don't want to face. It's like it's not a coincidence that a lot of the people who are very outspoken against gay lifestyle are, have homosexual tendencies. I mean, we've seen that happen over and over again.
Right.
So that could be what you're afraid of.
Right.
And why are you afraid of? Because you may be, the public may not love you anymore. Your parents may disown you. And that's tough. It shouldn't be that way.
Right.
You shouldn't have to fear, being disowned by your parents or being,
Well, that's why it must have been so hard for people to come out, or it is so hard for people to come out. I think I'd like to believe that it's a little easier now. But
it is. I think what makes it more difficult still is the fact that religion plays a big role in a lot of this. So many LGBT kids take their lives because they think their own God doesn't love them.
That is just so tragic.
So
I mean, that
heartbreaking
hurts.
It does.
It really does.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, religion is supposed to unite people, connect people, but it really, unfortunately, serves to separate people. And that's the one big thing I don't agree with about religion.
And you say how, it gets passed down generation after generation. Religious beliefs do as well a lot of the times. And unless you break that cycle and get educated, you could bring that into a situation where you have a gay kid and they have to grow up with listening to that and then eventually, are experiencing all the feelings of being gay but afraid to come out about it because they know that the family's not going to be accepting because of their religious beliefs.
Right. And, by educated, in my mind, that just means exposure. Go out and meet people. There are studies that show that we are more able to. There was actually a study done with some of the Nazi soldiers because they would see them do these horrendous things in the concentration camps and then go home and play with their dog and be kind to their kids.
Wow.
And so they did a study on that. And if we see ourselves different from another group, and this is very kind of evolutionary, right? That difference, if we see ourselves different from that person, we're more apt to dislike them. It's more you against me. So go out there and experience people, It's not just education that comes through books, it's exposure.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I had that. I was working at the Bonaventure Hotel, and I used to go out with this guy all the time, and he had a wedding band, and this was the 80s. And I was, my parents, because they didn't really they didn't really acculturate. We weren't allowed to go out too much, so I wasn't very exposed to anything.
Is that why you go out all the time?
Exactly. That's how I was. Woo. But I wasn't, and there was a lot of fear. And so this guy became a really good friend, and he had a wedding band on, and we used to go out all the time after a drink. I used to go to this bar, and he would go, and I'd say the usual, and I felt so good because can't even remember what I was drinking back then. And we used to get some hotel guests would give us tickets to plays, and we used to go to plays together and stuff. And he was married, so of course he was never going to come on to me because he was married. So one day I asked him, I go, hey, I'll keep his name also private. I said, hey, do you have any kids? And he goes, what? And I go, do you have any kids? And he goes, I'm gay. He goes, you didn't know that? He goes, I'm the biggest queen here. How did you not know I was gay?
That's very
and I
funny.
went, well, because you're wearing a ring. And of course it was symbolic for him and his partner. Oh. I had no clue. And now in hindsight, yes, he was very effeminate. And so I went home that night, my left brain, which, thank you for my left brain at times. I went home last night and I said, okay, why would I stop being friends with this guy just because now I know what he does in the bedroom?
So
why?
that actually thought went through your head?
I drove home from work, and why would I stop being friends with this guy? It was the early 80s, so gay and lesbian lifestyle was still kind of something that was not okay, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought, he's my friend. We go out and we have fun. Why would I stop going out with this guy? I really like him. He's my friend. And that completely changed my perspective. I thought, you know what? Fuck it. I don't give a shit what he does in the bedroom or who he chooses to partner up with. Mm-hmm. He's my friend. Mm-hmm. And that completely shifted my thought. And so that's when I go out there and meet people. If you keep yourself isolated and you keep yourself closed off to anything that's different from what what you're comfortable with, then you're never going to be able to accept things that...
we are here in this lifetime to grow and change. Mm-hmm. Please use this as a time of great healing for everybody. Heal yourself and work on fear. Work on the fear aspect. What are you afraid of out there?
Yeah, exactly. Why are you afraid of, in this case, the gay and lesbian lifestyle?
Please.
Why are you afraid of that? Right. If you don't agree with it, that's okay. But why would you, why would you then...
Doesn't make sense.
Feel hatred towards a human being. Mm-hmm.
And if you're feeling hatred at all, really look into that. What are you feeling hatred about?
And I've heard some cases where, the mother goes in and has her hair done by a gay person and is so open and accepting of that person, right? And then her son comes out and then she disowns the son because it's too close to home.
Yeah. Wow, yes, yep. I always used to say, if I had a son, I just have a daughter, but I always said, if I had a son, I always hoped he would be gay. I would pray for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's the truth. I would have been the best mother for a gay son or a gay daughter.
Yeah. I know. I used to, when Sid was little, I wanted her to feel real comfortable. And I said, you know what? If you grow up and you like girls, I don't care. Totally fine. And so she sat and she thought about it and she goes, but I'm not gay, Mom. And I said, okay, but if you are, I'm totally cool with it. Right. And so she's thought about it. But I'm not gay, Mom. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. It was so funny. But
they're so blessed to have parents like you.
Well, it's such an enlightened community. They're enlightened. I mean, it's just different.
Well, and you know why? It's because of what we were just talking about, that exposure. I took a class at UCLA, the Psychology of the Lesbian Experience. Mm-hmm. Of course, most of the people in there were gay. Most of them were women. And of course, everyone thought I was gay too. Mm-hmm. And I took it because there wasn't a Psychology of the Gay Experience. It was, And I took it because I wanted to understand. And boy, did I come out of there having so much respect for... First, you have to, acknowledge it to yourself. Yeah. Then you have to tell your friends and come out to your family and come out to your job. And now it's a lot easier, but we're talking the 80s again. Mm-hmm. And you could have been shunned from all of those communities. Right. So it takes courage to admit even to yourself, hey,
warrior
I'm different.
Courage. Warrior courage. Yeah. This planet you have to be a warrior.
Yeah.
You do. For yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anyone who's different.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, even when I came out as a medium, it would have been easier to come out as gay. I remember that was my big struggle, coming out as a medium.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. 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 So,
anytime you have to come out differently than the norm.
Exactly.
You know, and the norm I put in air quotes here because what is normal these days?
Who
and
decides,
who decides it?
what's the norm? You know, and again, I just keep going back to people jumped on boats because England was deciding what the norm was for their religion, and they came here because they didn't.
Boats.
They did.
I like that.
Because they didn't want someone telling them what the norm was. So what gives us the right to say what the norm was?
Right.
What the norm is, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I will say, you know, earlier I was talking about what people can do right now to help, and I know that there is a GoFundMe page that has been set up for the victims of the Orlando mass shooting. And
oh, good. Let's announce that.
Yeah.
What is
You
it?
can put that on our site.
Yeah, I will. I'll put that up. The thing is, anytime I go to something online, it plays an ad, so that's what we're hearing sometimes when I go.
I see.
So I try not to go to the sites now because it's playing an ad or a video or something. But I will bring it up for you so that you can share that on the air.
So I think even if people donate $1, I think it's just putting that energy together.
Yes.
You know, of
so it
that
is,
positive energy.
Yeah, I did find it. It's GoFundMe.com/Pulse Victims Fund.
Okay, and Pulse was the name of the nightclub,
The nightclub, yeah. So it's PULSE Victims Fund.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And let's just, I don't know, what can we leave everyone with? Tell someone you love them.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Meditate.
Yeah.
Pray. Yeah. Send light to the families, to the victims.
Yeah.
Tell somebody you love them.
Yeah. Tell someone who really you feel sees you, who you feel seen by, who you feel felt by, how much you appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. And again, if you want to call in, Kelly's going to be doing readings. We're going to pre-tape a show for next week, our Father's Day show. And thank you for watching.
All right, bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo Dr. Shirley and Kellee White.
Two perspectives, one world.